The Huntsman, Winter's War. Or like The Huntsman, Winter's Bore. Yeah, this movie's pretty bad. So, The Huntsman, Winter's War is one of those sequels that takes place around the last movie, you know, Snow White and the Huntsman from 2012, rather than, like, directly after. Kind of like 300 Rise of an Empire. It starts off with Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth, you know, being trained as children, and then they reference the whole Snow White deal, and then it continues after that. You have Charlize Theron, you have Jessica Chastain, you have Emily Blunt. Those are three of the biggest female talents in Hollywood. Charlize Theron is the only one who is the least bit charismatic or interesting, because, you know, she's evil and calculating, and she's doing her witchy stuff. Emily Blunt is the most, like, boring, flat character ever. And it's a huge waste of her acting talent. Same thing with Jessica Chastain. Jessica Chastain's basically a female version of Chris Hemsworth in the fact that they both emphasize their respective sexes. And both have red hair, and they're both really good in combat. And they both have, like, Celtic accents. She's really wasted, too. She's, like, a really one-dimensional, like, low IQ character. So they fell in love a long time ago, and she presumably dies at the beginning of the movie. But, you know, it's Jessica Chastain, so of course she didn't. And then later in the movie, there's a mysterious hooded figure who's, like, fighting people next to Chris Hemsworth, and you're like, gee, I wonder who that is. And the movie's constantly trying to throw the audience for a loop. It's like, is he dead? Is she dead? Are they really still in love? I wonder who killed the Ice Queen's daughter. It's like, who gives a And I could answer all of those questions before the movie did. The basic plot of the movie is Emily Blunt's the Ice Queen, you know, live-action Elsa, essentially. And at the beginning of the movie, she has a daughter. Her daughter dies, and she's like, I loved my daughter. My daughter died, and now I'm sad. Therefore, love must be evil. And she just outlaws love in the kingdom. It's like, you had this, like, kind of gritty, realistic take on, like, a fairy tale in the last movie, and now love is illegal? Like, that is just so fairy tale Disney kid stuff. And it's just so hard to take seriously. And that becomes, like, the whole theme of the movie. Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain's, like, they were in love once, but now they're not. She's like, I don't love you anymore. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is as charismatic as the script allows him to be, but they can't do anything with him. The tagline of the movie should have been, like, true love will conquer all, instead of, like, you know, the slow-mo killing medieval death fantasy stuff that it looked like it was gonna be. And you have four dwarf side characters who are just a complete waste of time. And you got, like, Liam Neeson narrating everything that happens, and it's like, you know, yeah, Liam Neeson, we're not blind, we can see it as it's happening. And the biggest problem with this movie is it's like, alright, it's about, like, kingdoms and people conquering places, and, like, you know, the Ice Queen, she's, like, going around and taking over lands with her huntsman. Never in the movie is there, like, an army-on-army battle. It's just like it's a medieval fantasy world. It's like, you could do so much with that in terms of lore and magic and stuff. The only lore in the movie is that there's a mirror, and then there's the two witch queens, and, like, that's it. Everything else is, like, standard stuff. And it's like, oh, there's goblin creature things. This movie follows, like, all the stereotypes of generic medieval stuff. And all the action sequences are just Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain, like, sword-fooing, like, 4 or 5 other people. That's really dumb, because, like, in these fight sequences, like, there's this part where, like, the Ice Queen's, like, trying to, like, kill them because they've broken the laws or whatever, and she's after them, and they have people going after them with, like, bow staffs, and, like, really? What are you, Shaolin monk pacifists? And then later in that same fight, you have someone, like, stab at him with a sword, and I'm like, okay, you need to decide if you're going to take them alive or not. Like, you can't be punching and kicking people in the same fight where you're axing people in the face. And there's a part where they, like, clearly defeat Chris Hemsworth, and they, like, have him, like, already restrained, and then they just, like, start punching him, and you're like, really? And then they throw him out in the mud, and then they go out to, like, kill him, and you're like, I could have killed him already. Plot conveniences galore. The only cool action sequence in the movie is at the end, where Charlize Theron is, like, throwing her, like, tentacle spider leg, like, black ink things at people. Those were cool. The last movie was known for having, like, really impressive CGI, and there are some parts of the movie like, that was awesome. Like, all the effects regarding the two witches and the mirrors look, like, really, really good. You have, like, the liquid gold, like, coming out of the mirror and under the ground. That looks really good. Charlize Theron will, like, turn into crows and have, like, flakes of gold, like, fall off of her. And she's got, like, black ink coming out of her mouth. She looks really, really good. And then at the beginning of the movie, there's this CGI crane shot of a castle, and it looks terrible. It was so out of place when the rest of your CGI is so fantastic. And it reminded me, it's like, alright, if you refuse to go, like, Lord of the Rings army clash route, could you at least gone the Witcher route in terms of, like, cool magic versus monsters, like, adult, mature thematic stuff. You see their magic happening with like really good CGI, and the colors are like really vibrant. It looks great, and I'm like, it just reminds me how much I want a live action Witcher movie. Soundtrack has its moments when Emily Blunt is like walking, you have like the choir music, and I'm like, you know, whenever there's a good soundtrack in a bad movie, I bet I'll know who did it. And sure enough, James Newton Howard's name comes on during the credits. I'm like, gotcha. So yeah, this movie was pretty dumb. Don't waste your time. Chris Hemsworth doesn't even show his abs in the movie anywhere. So if even that was what you wanted, just stay away. The only good, like, charisma, like, character dialogue we have is, like, when a little kid gets captured by the Huntsman at the beginning and she's, like, scared. Chris Hemsworth looks at her and he's like, oh, what you doing in there? And it's like, you gotta put your mean face on for the queen. That was cute. That was adorable. Every other time anybody opens their mouth, it's, like, super exposition heavy or super, like, trying to be funny or just, like, really dry and boring. And I'm gonna give The Huntsman, The Winter's War a 4 out of 10. What a waste. Thank you for watching. I'm Wesley Thompson. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Goodbye, and God bless.